So we have a different kind of video for our audience here. This is a clip that I found, part of a longer video from a channel called Jubilee. This they have a series called Middle Ground, where there's people with different opinions who are, I guess, giving their thoughts on a certain question. And in this video, I personally picked up a lot of things that, I mean, they kind of made me angry, because it shows me that these people are voting and they don't quite understand what they're voting for. So once you guys watch this video, I want your opinions. Actually, we can even pause the video in between. Just let me know when to pause, and we can give your opinion. So let's start the video. Basically, what you see here is, this is a video called "Rich Men versus Poor Men" from Middle Ground. The people on the left are considered rich, and the people on the right are considered poor. The first question is, there's no such thing as an ethical ethical billionaire. And what you're going to see is that there are certain people who are going to come up. So the moderator is going to ask a question. Certain people are going to come up, and those are the people who agree with the statement. So let's start just watching it, and let me know if you guys want me to pause at some point. Okay.
Okay.
Thing as an ethical billionaire.
You cannot become a billionaire without exploiting people in the process.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, it's impossible to work hard enough to be a billionaire. You will have to extract the surplus labor value from other people. It's not possible to do that at all. Like, I think the closest, we have a weird almost exception, but not really exception in modern society with celebrities, where people actually like just prop them up and do that, and they're not necessarily exploiting others themselves. And so that's like the only thing I think where it could be questionable.
do you have an example, like a specific example of someone that's a billionaire?
No,
that's
my thing, is that they don't reach billionaire status, because billionaire is so insanely high.
Right.
I think you could be like 100 millionaire ethically, maybe through that specific mean, but billionaire is so astronomically high, it's impossible to get there without exploiting others. I look at someone like Taylor Swift, who I'm a huge fan of, love her, but her capitalist business practices are insane.
Yeah.
We're charging like $40 for little things, and we're exploiting people in all these other ways to like make these things for so cheap and do this and
yeah, you become a billionaire by investing, you know, and it's not through hard work. Nobody becomes a billionaire through hard work. You get it through exploiting people. You know what the difference between $1 billion and $1 million is? It's about $1 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody really understands how much wealth is $1 billion. And to think that there are people in the world that have hundreds of $1 billion and they're on their way to becoming trillionaires. The disparity has never been greater. And I don't believe that there's any way you can acquire $1 billion and without being unethical. And I've yet to hear a strong argument in the opposition.
Okay, before we go into the other side, so now they're going to bring out the people who disagree. What are your thoughts on what they said so far?
My thoughts is that billionaires are typically people who have created a lot of opportunity for other people, and they kind of mentioned how you're extracting value out of the work of other people, but you're not indenturing them into slavery. Those people have a choice. They can choose to work for somebody. I think everybody knows when they take employment that the business is going to profit from their work. They don't expect the business to take a loss on employing them. That doesn't make any sense for the business to employ somebody at that point. So typically billionaires will have, even if you're just an investor, right? You're investing in businesses that then employ a bunch of people and provide opportunity for those people. And again, it's a choice to be employed or not. It's a choice to work for somebody. So I think their points completely negate that very simple objective truth in my eyes.
Yeah, I think that I mean there was actually something that was said that I agreed with, is that the wealth gap has never been larger, which is true today. I think the fiat system has done a very good job of exploiting people, as they call it anyways, exploiting people, exploiting resources. And basically The U.S. has done a very good job, in my opinion. Not just the West, or not just the U.S., but like the Western world itself has done a very good job of exporting its inflation. And so, what I mean by that is, like, when you look at a T-shirt or something, it might be worth $40 here in Canada. They talked about Taylor Swift, which I disagreed with in that sense, but I'll get back to that. But let's say a T-shirt costs $40 here, and I think that if we had fair wages, we were paying the people who made these T-shirts fair wages, that T-shirt would actually cost maybe $200 instead of 40. So we've actually been able to exploit other countries like China, like India. You look at a tag on your clothing, I'm guessing it's from somewhere like that, which is our way of exporting inflation. They have their wages very low and they send the products back for money essentially that we create out of thin air here. So that to me is an exploitation, a way of exploiting people in lesser wealthy countries around the world. I didn't like that he said, I'm not a huge fan of Taylor Swift. I was a big fan of her when she was a country music star, but not as of late. But that's the free market. He said Taylor Swift puts out this merchandise and makes people pay $40. It's exactly what Forrest said there. Nobody's making these people buy these shirts. It's the free market. If people didn't want to buy it, they wouldn't sell. So that's a moot point to me. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I think that when we're talking billions, it is a lot. And I do think it is very difficult to get that amount of wealth without, screwing somebody over in a way. But to me, that's different than exploiting. The word exploiting, like back to what Forrest said there. Nobody's making people work. People sign up, they put in their resume, they want to work. And so that's what people have been able to leverage, which in the past was labor. You have enough resources, you can hire somebody to do it. The business is profitable enough to pay the employees, and that's just business. I wouldn't call that exploitation, but it's hard because there are certain aspects of this I do agree with. But anyways, I'll let somebody else chat here.
Yeah, I want to say one more. Can I say one more thing here? I think you touching on the fact of how the fiat system gets exported out and will create disparages within certain countries based on their labor is really a much bigger problem, right? I think the problem of the fact that people can create successful businesses or invest in businesses and make $1 billion, whereas people working in those businesses don't, is a much smaller problem. There's definitely slight issues with that. There's definitely an unfairness and inequality. Some of that is deserved because there's different amounts of work and different amounts of capital and different amounts of all sorts of things. So there should be a free market of being able to accrue more value based on all sorts of different aspects. But the real problem that these people aren't pointing at is that the fiat system creates all of these additional problems. So it's hard for me to even care about something like this because the real problem is fiat. The real problem is fiat.
Yeah, that base layer is just completely broken. I feel like, once we go through the video, like we'll keep going, but I feel like a lot of the claims that they make can actually be solved by Bitcoin, because when you get paid in fiat, you're getting paid in something that melts, right? You're getting paid in a melting ice cube. With Bitcoin, you're getting paid in like what is it called? Like one of those, those ice packs that can't melt. Like they retain their value no matter what, but then they also can be used to cool down your food, to protect your to keep your food cold. Bitcoin's like an ice pack, while fiat is like a melting ice cube, like an actual ice cube that doesn't keep its shape. It doesn't keep the value that it has. It eventually just becomes nothing. While that ice cap, you can keep using it. You can keep using it. You can keep using it. And I think these guys, if they put in the time to actually see what Bitcoin is, I think that they would agree that capitalism isn't the problem. Bitcoin is the problem. And another problem here is they think that capitalism is such an issue, but Bitcoin is capitalism. So by ignoring capitalism, it's not like capitalism goes away. The
Right.
earlier you are, it goes into the fact that you buy Bitcoin at the price you deserve. So let's say these guys get introduced to Bitcoin at 50K and they ignore it. You buy Bitcoin at the price you deserve. And I want to put a twist on that. It's based on when you first discover it. So if you were introduced to it if you're introduced to it for the first time at $10 million and you don't buy it until $11 million, then you had a 10% slippage, right? You can't do anything before the 10 million. But if you were introduced to it at a penny, you kept ignoring it. You kept ignoring it. Like Peter Schiff kept ignoring it, kept ignoring it, kept ignoring it. And now it's worth $100,000, $113,000 a coin. You deserve to pay more. You deserve to pay a few million% more than the price that it was introduced to at. So these guys, I think they're making these claims, but I don't know if they've done the deep research on what Bitcoin is, how Bitcoin actually is used to help society. They haven't looked into the downstream effects of Bitcoin, and I think that's going to really hurt them. But like I said, you can't ignore capitalism. You can say it's bad, but the world is already based on capitalism. You can't change that. You're not gonna change it to socialism just because you want to.
Yeah. And the problem is not capitalism either. The problem is that people are able to extract value without actually adding value. That's the whole fiat system itself. And that's what Bitcoin changes, is that it doesn't give anybody an advantage. The people who are closer to the money printer don't have any advantage long-term wise. I mean, they can convert those fake paper notes into Bitcoin now if they were smart. But over the long term, you can no longer extract value without actually giving value to the world. And I think that even going back to the fiat problem, I think that there would be a very small fraction of billionaires if we were still in the gold standard. I mean, you just look at the prices of houses back in like the 50s and 60s. Like you could literally own a house, mortgage, interest, insurance, property tax for $50 a month. And so the reason why there's so many billionaires today is because of the fiat printing. And that's why our theory, I think both you guys would agree with me, at some point, there's going to be more billionaires on this planet than whole coiners. Because as these assets, as they print more money, the value of these assets continue to go up. And so do people's net worth who are measuring it in fiat terms. But you cannot create more Bitcoin to match the demand for people who are going to need Bitcoin. So I think that it's just the fiat system causes a lot of billionaires, and I do think that the people who are closer to the money printer benefit more. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible for somebody to obtain $1 million worth of value without being ethical, without doing so ethically. I think it is difficult, but I don't really think it has anything to do with ethics, honestly. I think it's how close you are to the money printer. It has a pretty big impact on it, I think.
Like if you're closer to it, why wouldn't you want to take advantage, right? If these guys were closer to it, if they had a real estate property and they could borrow against it to get more money, I guarantee you that they would do it. Guaranteed. There's no way that they wouldn't.
Yeah, it's also a huge assumption that they're making that all billionaires have gotten there unethically. You have no idea. You have no idea how they've gotten there.
Yes.
You're just assuming.
It's just their narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's an assumption. Yeah.
And I want to give you another little bit of context here. Of course, this is the first time you guys are watching the video. This guy has an income of something like $60,000 a year. The other guy had an income of below $10,000 a year.
Yep.
So I think that gives you a lot of perspective. And keep in mind that you guys so to the audience, these guys came up with these points without watching the rest of this video. They came up with these points watching the video for the first time. And did you guys have anything else to say, or should we go to the rest of the video?
The only thing I have to say is, how is that guy alive with only making $10,000 a year? Like, his life must be subsidized by somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gotta be. There's no way
Maybe
you could live on that. Parents, spouse. I saw a wedding ring, so I don't know. There's no way to live on $10,000 a year in a Western nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you think about it that way, that's a perfect example of somebody who's extracting value from the world without adding value to the world. So this guy's actually much closer aligned with a lot of wealthy people out there who have benefited from. And that's, we've seen things like politicians through the years where they have an unfair advantage, even though it's not considered to be actual insider trading. Some people do have knowledge that helps them make decisions that other people don't have access to. So to me, that is unethical. Mm-hmm. But there's still no reason why somebody can't create a really good product or a service and be really efficient and effective in communicating that and make $1 billion ethically. There's no reason why that can't happen.
Yeah.
True.
I was running the numbers, and so if your expenses today are $65,000 per year, and inflation keeps going at 5% per year, by 2023, your your annual expenses are going to be $1 billion. So does that mean everybody is an unethical billionaire? Right?
Right.
Like the issue isn't the billionaires, it isn't the rich people. The issue isn't the businesses, at least in my opinion. The issue is the foundation, which is that
Yep.
fake money.
The system.
Well, exactly. I mean, growing up, I'm sure it was the same for you guys. $1 million, a millionaire seemed like a huge aspiration. Oh, imagine being
Yes.
a millionaire. Now, if you own a home in Canada, you're a millionaire. It's
Yeah.
not that hard to become a millionaire anymore, on
Yeah.
paper, at least.
Yeah. Okay, let's watch the rest of the video. So this is where the other people come back on. And I just want to mention at the bottom when they speak for the first time, I think you're going to see how much their wealth is. So I'm not sure if they showed it before, but they'll just for context.
If you're putting people in a position to where they can, I guess, provide for the life that they want and the people they care about, so they can accomplish their goals through the opportunity you provide for them, and you're able to accomplish your goal at the same time. Why is that a bad thing?
Well, when I use exploitation, I use it in a Marxist sense where it's just the extraction. Like you are exploiting their labor in the sense that their labor is worth a certain amount. You're not paying them what that labor is worth. If they generate $30 an hour for you and you're paying them $20, that's exploitation. If you are taking that $10 and putting it in your pocket.
I saw a reaction there from you, Forrest. I wanted to pause it to get your reaction.
Well, I mean, is it not worth $10 an hour to provide them the opportunity to earn 20? That's the question there.
Wow. I didn't even think of it that way. Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
We've all run businesses. I mean, I've had employees before. It's a lot of work managing employees. It's not like I'm not doing anything and just getting them to work for me and extracting all the value out of it. Like, I don't know. It's just a silly idea, in my opinion.
Something that I was thinking is that, okay, so this guy's saying so easily that, okay, you're giving them $20, you're going to be able to create $30. How do you know that?
Yeah,
How do you know that you're
exactly.
going to get $30? Like, there's no guarantee. But if I were,
Exactly.
let's say, for example, on our channel, we'll give to the audience an example of our own channel, like the channel that we're making. Let's say we were to hire an editor, and the editor is we make an agreement with the editor that we're going to give them $25 per hour of work, and it takes them 4 hours to edit a video. Let's say, for example, just as a random example, we're going to give them $100. Does that mean if the video generates $1,000 in revenue that we exploited them? No, because if the video wasn't created in the first place, then they wouldn't be able to make any money. If we didn't take the time and the energy to start this channel, how long has it been? 6 months ago? And how much did we get paid in the beginning? Nothing. If we didn't put in the time to do that, if we didn't put in the time to educate ourselves on Bitcoin, I didn't get paid. Like the first year and a half that I was working on building this business, I got paid nothing. So let's say, for example, we hire that editor. Should we split our revenue 4 ways and give that editor like that quarter of the revenue? Should we give them a quarter of our business because they edited a video from us for us? How does that make any sense?
No, because we're taking on the risk.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing. We're taking on the risk, or the entrepreneur, the business owner, whoever that is, they're taking on a risk. And that's why I say that there are some non-ethical things, the ones who are close to governments, the ones who are receiving subsidies, the ones who are receiving inside information. That to me is BS. I don't like that. That doesn't sit right with me. But in the case of like your average small business owner, that's not the case at all. They put it a lot on the line, a lot of risk, a lot of responsibility, a lot of stress. The higher your paycheck, the higher responsibility you have. And the people who make $10,000 a year like this guy, they would never understand that. So it's impossible, I think, to reason with somebody like this because they've never been in that situation before. And a lot of people haven't. They don't understand how hard it is to show up for 10 or 12 hours a day and literally get nothing in return. Nothing. Like when you launch a business, there's no guarantee and there's a whole lot of nothing coming in for a long time. And you have to be pretty certain that something's going to come of this. Otherwise, you're going to waste a couple of years of your life and probably a lot of your wealth savings. So that's the risk. And with risk comes reward. So it's not exploitation. That is literally value for value in my eyes. Is the examples we walk through there. That's how it should be.
And I do think there's opportunity that is, I mean, we could see this with startups. We see this with businesses where the people that are investing all their time and adding risk, they earn a percentage or they own a percentage. I do think that there's possibly more opportunity for that, for like cooperative working together. But again, your example, Rajat, of hiring an editor, we're not gonna add them into our equity. We're not going to, because they're doing a service for us and they're not part of the necessarily like creation of an addition of the business.
And there are more people who can do their work.
Exactly.
They can be replaced. Like on this channel, as much like maybe I sound like I'm being a little bit, I'm giving ourselves a little bit too much value, but we can't be replaced, right? Like if we have somebody else on our channel, they do a great job, but the views suffer because we as the host of this channel can't be replaced. So sorry, go ahead with
that. And even if somebody else was to come on and all of a sudden we have 4 people, then the conversation can shift and we can include them in a revenue share or a sort of a system like that. And I think there's more opportunities in the capitalist system for that, and there are people that try to push people that should earn some sort of revenue share. But you can see if you work for a public company or even a private company that has equity, they will pay people or give people incentives with stock compensation. And that is a form of you working for a company and benefiting from the growth of that company. So there is that example happening as well. But potentially there's a little bit of discrepancy or a little bit of unevenness there in some cases, but I don't know, it's people need to stand up and work for, like, demand what they want for their work. And if you can be easily replaced, if you're, I hate to say it, but if you're like a cashier at a job, I mean, the automatic checkouts, those replace you. Robots can replace you. If robots can replace you, it means other people can replace you really easily as well. So your job, even though you might have it now, is easily replaceable. And that means that what you're doing isn't that valuable, which it's a problem for you as an individual. And when you have a problem, you need to figure out a solution to it. And that solution is likely upgrading your skills and putting yourself in a position where you're less replaceable and more valuable to an organization or to your own organization, maybe.
I think part of the value comes from the pipeline as well, right? So let's say, for example, we've built this channel. That's our pipeline. That's the only reason why we're able to generate revenue. It took us a lot of time, energy, effort to build that pipeline. And we're not guaranteed to continue to make money over time, right? Let's say we did add a 4th person. It's not like we're going to give them 25% of the value of the company, right? And that's because we spent 6 months of our time getting paid literally $0. Why would we give them 25% of it for coming in, let's say 7-8 months after we started this and put in all that time? That wouldn't really make any sense. So I think that's
unless they gave us a couple of Bitcoin.
Yes. or I was going to say too, Rajat, there, unless they had like let's say that the value that we bring is our experience, our specific skills, and our audience. Even let's say that we brought somebody on who had 1 million subscribers on YouTube. That would be a benefit where we might say, okay, that you put in the sweat equity to do that, to build that up. That's going to be a big benefit to this business. And so maybe we do split it equal. And even going back to the example of the editor there, the whole thing to keep in mind here is risk, right? Because the editor does the job, 4 hours worth of work, $100 worth of pay. They don't have any risk there. They're getting that $100 no matter what. Even if 3 people watched that video, we made $0 off it. They're still getting that $100 there. So they're not taking on any of the risk that we would be taking on by letting the video see how it performs, I guess, in this example. So no risk, no reward. You put a bunch on the line, you have bigger rewards.
And you could hire that editor and say, I'm not going to pay you any hourly rate, and you're going to take on the risk with me. I'm going to give you 50% of the ad revenue or percentage of the ad revenue or something of the value. And that editor is going to make the decision, oh, I want the reliable $100 or the potential $2 if the video gets no views and, hundreds of dollars if the video goes gangbusters, right? So you can set up these systems that take on additional risk. But in this example, in this video, right, the person earning $20 an hour from a business that might make 30, the business is taking on the risk that they can use the employees' actions to create $30 of value, which is not guaranteed. And in fact, what is it, like 90% of businesses go out of business, right? Like it's a huge risk to start a business. And it's a huge risk to take on employees. Taking on employees is so risky. It's incredibly risky. So, and those employees, they don't take on any risk. They just get paid to do their job.
Yeah. Like you can walk into a company on day one and start getting paid. And you have no, like, and the people who actually started that company, they may not have gotten paid for a year, 2 years, 10 years, right? Some companies, like, do you guys know about like the Amazon story where he put in $250,000 of his own, I think, or his parents' money or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
If he had lost that money, nobody would have even remembered him, right? He would be gone.
That's the risk.
Yeah.
And there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of businesses exactly like that have put $250,000 in, and we don't know their name. We don't know they could have been Jeff Bezos, but they're not, right? We know Jeff Bezos because he was successful, and that business was losing money constantly, and he was just fighting through that. He was saying, I have a vision. I can take on more debt. I can take on more investors. We can make this work. And for years, that business, I remember actually, like I was getting into investing and Amazon was still not profitable. Like, I don't know, a decade plus ago. I mean, it's just, incredible risk to create something like that.
Yeah. And now, like, would he have to give, like, would he pay his would he pay his employees in shares now because they're working for him? Or do they, there's actually a point that he makes later in this video that's the same guy. We'll keep watching and I want you guys to listen to that point. I think it's going to blow your minds too.
Then how do you pay for the lights, like the cameras?
I think that surplus labor value, I think workers should have a say in how it's used. And that's my biggest problem, is that the workers don't have a say.
Is there a sense where we could maybe raise the minimum wage to a certain level to where it's not seen as exploitation?
The very concept of earning a wage is exploitative by design, because you could be, like he said, you could be producing all this value as a worker, but you're capped.
What if you get stock in the company? So it's pretty common in the tech place to get restricted stock.
How does a company raise the shareholder price of their company? How do they do that?
Make more revenue.
Usually there's traditional finance metrics like revenue, but in general it's more people are buying
revenue
by selling
goods and services.
How do they make goods?
Using human labor.
There you go.
I never saw that in my life.
That wasn't really a got him. That wasn't really a gotcha moment that he thinks it was. Like, there wasn't a point there.
He said that employees have a cap on what they can make. Yes, they do, but they also have a floor on what they can make, and that's the whole point there.
So he wants the floor and no cap.
Yeah, like that doesn't make any sense. That's just not. That's not a free market.
And that's where you get that fake system, right? Where the minimum wage keeps going up, and governments keep printing more money, and now you have SNAP benefits where McDonald's and Walmart employees are the biggest beneficiaries of that. And like, there's a cap for them where they can earn a certain amount of money, but there's also a floor because of the minimum wage. And it's supplemented, like a fake supplement through money printing. That's essentially what he's saying. Like that's his problem.
Yeah.
He's saying that the current system is the problem. Like he's saying that I think in words that he doesn't even get. I don't even think he understands the point that we're making here. But he's saying that he wants something that's already happening, and that's what's led to the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Right.
Yeah. And I didn't necessarily mean a floor in terms of like a minimum wage requirement. I meant a floor in terms of like, if you show up for work in a day at your job,
right,
and you're there for 8 hours, you're getting paid for 8 hours. That's your floor. You could do 5 minutes of work during that 8 hours. You're still getting paid for 8 hours. That's your floor. Whatever your wage is, that's your floor. So you have capped upside, capped downside. Business owner, they have unlimited upside, but also unlimited downside. If people stop buying the products, people stop walking through the door, they're not getting paid. There's no floor for a business owner. They go to business. They stop paying people. And I'm sure there's been hundreds of millions of examples where a business owner has to make payroll and they skip their own paycheck for a little while until the business can get back on its feet. So that's the whole trade-off here is, as a business owner, you get unlimited upside through your equity, but you also have unlimited downside. As an employee, yes, you have a cap on how much you can make per year based on the time that you show up there, but you also have a floor based on your hourly wage or your annual salary.
It's also like saying, like, you know, is it exploitative for the employee to earn a wage when the business is unprofitable and the owner is subsidizing those wages? It's not. It's just the system that we have for risk takers and non-risk takers.
Yeah, it's a free market.
Yeah.
Like the only way that it's sustainable, like what he's saying, is through money printing.
Yep.
They're basically saying that socialism should happen and capitalism is the problem when we're in socialism.
Yeah.
Like we're essentially
Literally.
like with SNAP benefits, that's socialism, right?
Mhm.
But again, they're extracting value from other people. Like if they print more money and they create SNAP benefits, whoever is creating that food is getting paid in nothing. Right?
Yeah. And it's it's costing everybody who's saving in fiat to pay for those. So and it's sort of unbeknownst to them that that's happening as well. So it's really insidious in that way too.
It's the manipulated market versus the free market. It's Jeff Booth's school of thought here. It's like the person making less than $10,000 per year in a free market without government subsidies, without the manipulation that happens, would probably be dead, would have starved to death. In a world where things cost as much as they do and you're making $10,000 a year, you'd probably starve to death. So the reason why you're able to survive is because of manipulation, because of government subsidies, because of the fiat system, which is a controlled ability to create money and disperse it as they feel best. Whereas in a free market, only the fit survive, only the people adding value survive. And that's, in my opinion, how it should be.
Well, it's the way the natural world is. Like you can think about it as $10,000 this guy earns, or he only earns, you know, if we go back to hunter-gatherer systems, he only earns, you know, a squirrel a week.
Yep.
You know, whereas the guy that with the 5 million, he's hunting moose, he's catching grouse, you know, whatever, right? And so, you know, maybe he can help the person that hunts the moose. Maybe he can skin it or whatever and get some, you know, get some food from that, right? So like
sharpen their weapons.
Exactly. Provide some sort of service to somebody else that's, you know, able to provide for themselves and others by their work. That's what we've developed from, right?
Did you guys also hear what he said where the people who are the employees, they should have a say in how the capital is used, the excess capital?
Imagine the inefficiency. Imagine the inefficiencies of that. Constantly having meetings. Like I used to live at a place where the main grocery store was a co-op. It was a local organic co-op, and it was brutal. They made so many poor decisions because they would just do what everybody wanted them to do. And they were never profitable. They were always on the brink of collapse. And there's, you know, you go in there and there's 12 different types of tahini, and then there's no vegetables. And it's like, nobody wants these different types of tahini with different prices, right? It's like, get one good type of tahini and go buy some other food that other people actually want, right? These are just sitting on the shelves until they expire. It's a terrible decision. I mean, it can work to some degree. People can have say, there's some sort of, you know, co-op system that might work, but to extend it all the way down to every single employee is definitely inefficient. I would say that.
It's inefficient and it's unfair. It just goes back to what we've been talking about. It's like, how can you make decisions if you don't actually have any skin in the game? So either it's it's one or the other. It's not both. You can't have a floor on what you're making every day plus have unlimited upside. You can't have a say in what the business does. Either you show up and work and get your wage and not, don't ruffle any feathers there, or you take on some risk. Maybe you want to buy into the company and then you share the risk that the owners share, and then you get a say in the decisions that the company makes.
Yes.
Like, it's really not that complicated.
I think for some reason, a lot of people have just like come to this conclusion that there shouldn't be risk.
Right. Yeah. Because we live in a bubble wrapped world. That's a whole problem.
Yeah.
The people who aren't producing anything still have the ability, like, when the first thing I saw in this video was rich men versus poor men. It made me think of the rich men of Richmond. Remember Oliver Anthony, that guy, that song? But it's talking about this. It's like the people who are taking the handouts are the fattest. That's not a sustainable society. The people who are taking money from the governments on the backs of other people who are actually producing for society are the ones who eat the best, the ones who are eating the fudge rounds, I think he says in the lyrics of it. It's like that's a society that's doomed to fail eventually. When that's the case, when that's the structure in the system, that's how things fail.
And it's not just, people, we're not just talking about people that are, getting subsidies, average day people, poor people or whatever that get, some subsidies. There's also extremely rich people, extremely well-funded businesses that get unfair government contracts as well. And
just as guilty, if not more guilty.
Exactly. Well, maybe more guilty because of the size of it. I mean, and the individual gain from it, and that is very unethical. And a lot of times, it's driven by lobbyists that make bills to change the laws so that they get more unfair treatment to their benefit. So there is definitely what we're saying here is there's a lot of things that in the world that are very unfair, and that's what I think a lot of these people are feeling, right? Like the poor people in this are feeling the unfairness of all these systems, but they're saying that it's the business's fault. It's the employer's fault. It's really not. It's the bigger system, which of course is the fiat system, which drives all of the other issues that we've talked about.
Yes, it's the foundation.
Exactly.
Like if the foundation of a house is cracked, everything on top of it is going to be tilted.
And the foundation is cracked, and there is a big problem. And these people feel that inside of them. They feel there's something wrong, but they're just pointing the finger at the wrong thing.
I think in this case, they forgot to pour the foundation. It's nothing. It's just dirt.
Yeah.
There is no foundation. Like there's no truth. Okay, let's go back to the video. I'm liking your thoughts, and I'm gonna keep pausing the video when you guys react. When you guys make when you guys react a little bit. So let's go back to the video here.
Was worse off.
There you go.
I never saw that my life was worse off if the guy who started a restaurant paid me a wage to work in the restaurant and he made more than me. It never bothered me if the owner of the restaurant was like, yeah.
There were slaves in the 1830s that didn't think they were being exploited as well.
Except it was my choice.
But also,
it was my choice to go get that job and earn a wage.
Yes,
if I
but
didn't want it,
the
I could
system
quit.
forced you to do it.
No, also the person paying you to do that was not a billionaire. A billionaire takes that to the most extreme.
Forrest?
Nothing. It's just funny. It's just it's this nominal bias that $1 billion is so unattainable. It's so much. What's the difference between $1 million and $1 billion? It's $1 billion, right? It all comes back to that. It's like if your argument doesn't work all the way down to a small business owner, then your argument doesn't work all the way up to a billionaire with a giant corporation.
Wow, yeah, really good point.
Extreme level where it wouldn't be taking $1 here of surplus labor value and doing this with it. It's extreme greed, extreme wealth hogging to get to that level.
So I personally know many billionaires. One of my closest mentors, he used to sit 2 desks away from me. His company IPO'd. Currently, it's valued more than Lockheed Martin, Nike. It's called AppLovin. It's worth like $158 billion, right? This is the most kind, genuine person you'll ever meet. Ever since he's made money, so he like has a crazy story. He started working when he was 14, 15, made a ton of money. And it was the same thing. Like my story is very similar, where it's like I started working at 15. I was paid $8K a month. And I actually loved it, not just because of the money. I knew I was making someone way more money, but it was the fact that I could learn from them, like learn how to get into that position. So the system never bothered me in that sense, because I was like, I can be that system. I can beat that system.
if there's no such thing as an ethical billionaire, where is that limit? Can you be an ethical millionaire? Can you be an ethical 100 millionaire? Like where is the point at which suddenly I'm now unethical?
That's a great question. I couldn't give you a number. I think $1 billion is way past it, though. I don't think it's anywhere near $1 billion. I can't give you a number, and I don't think every millionaire is an evil person. 10 millionaires an evil person.
I have a friend.
The funny thing here, I was thinking about this when I was watching this video. At some point, everybody's going to be a billionaire.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that mean everybody's unethical?
And that's the whole thing here. It's just a different scale. Like what Forrest said there, it's like it can't be true at a large scale if it's not true on a small scale. So basically, if you're on a larger scale, that just means you're taking on way more risk. There's more volume there. There's way more that can go wrong. And you put in more time to get to that point. But it's the exact same like system and process that they're making fun of. It's not, it's one or the other. It can't be both. You can't be an ethical business owner at $1 million, but not at $1 billion. Like it doesn't make any sense logically.
Yeah. And
I think, sorry, I was just going to say, I think if you're struggling, like if you have less money, you're probably more likely to be unethical, right? Like, because it's not because you're a bad person. It's because you're forced to make those decisions. Like as a billionaire, you
have less choices,
right? Like you're forced to be, if you want to protect your reputation as a billionaire, you're forced to be ethical, right? Like you don't see Jeff Bezos going and beating his wife, right? But there's probably some random guy who's struggling to pay the bills and he's angry and he's going and beating his wife because his job isn't paying him enough. And one thing that his wife says, that's unethical to me. Like that, to me, that's terrible, right? But Jeff Bezos has everything. He has everything going to try to maintain his reputation, because if he does something wrong, then his company's valuation is going to fall like crazy. Sorry, go ahead, Forrest.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. You know, and we're having to make generalizations here, as they are as well.
Like
so, you know,
crime,
so there's always going to be exceptions, and there are definitely unethical billionaires. There's definitely it doesn't matter about your net worth. There's unethical people out there based on their own morals and their own actions. I don't know.
Look at the guy at the Coldplay concert.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like money just amplifies who you are.
Exactly.
That's all, right? It doesn't do anything. It doesn't change you as a person. I think what it does is it makes you more of who you are. Like if you're a generous person when you're poor, then you're going to be more generous when you're rich. Like if you have, let's say for example, if you have $1 billion, if you have a couple $1 million sitting in your bank account, if you have when I was doing Uber Eats, I would make sure that no matter what happens, every time I pass somebody who's begging on the side of the street, I give them at least a little bit. Like if I have a quarter, I'll give them a quarter. If I have $1, I'll give them $1, no matter what happens. Now, because I'm making a little bit more money, I try to give them $2, $2.50, $3, whatever I have, because I know that money is just sitting in my card. Doesn't really it doesn't really make a difference to me if I give it away, but to them, who knows? What if it does? What if it means they can go get a hot coffee and it makes their day? Or for all I know, what if they go get a beer and it makes them happy, right? Who am I to judge? So I think it amplifies who you are as a person. It makes you either more cheap if you're really rich and you were cheap when you were poor, or it makes you more generous if you were really generous when you were poor.
Yeah, I think the thing that other people miss too, like that's a great example there. And I think that these two guys who don't have a lot of money, don't make a lot of money every year, I think what they're missing is all their words are really falling on deaf ears. It's like, if you see a problem, if you actually want to do something about it, then you have to go out and take action. You have to have some economic influence behind you. And I think that's the one thing that Bitcoiners have recognized is like, if we want to make real change here, we can't just sit here and bitch about it. We can't go outside of the Parliament building with signs and say, stop printing money. Like we have to take this stuff into our own hands. And that's what we're doing. So that's what people miss is like, you're never going to change things. You're never going to have any sort of influence in the world if you don't add value and earn value and store that in a good place, which in our opinion is Bitcoin is the best place for that. But it's just like, people who love to complain, do nothing about it, and they'll never see any change in their life, whether they had $1 million that they got or $10,000 that they made this year. It's just their perspective and their mentality. It's a poor mentality, and I think that this video really exemplifies that.
I just realized neither of them really gave a solution.
Yeah, exactly.
What you said.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, I guess the solution is some sort of capped upside, some smaller percentage of gain from the employer. That's sort of what I got the gist of. But then that lowers the incentive to provide those opportunities,
Yeah.
which means that there'll be less of them. Which, when there's less opportunities for that, that means there's less competition, which means more and more,
Monopolies.
less and less abundance for
Yeah.
the average person. And there's that thing where it's like, people say money is power, right? And it kind of is, right? You can create things with the use of money. You can give somebody money, and they will use their energy and in some way, their time and energy in some way, to create something, whether that's flipping a burger at McDonald's or something else, right? So if you have the money, and Bitcoin is the money, right, you can create some semblance of the world that you want to live in. You can influence the world in a direction that you want. So that's what I see with Bitcoin, right? I see Bitcoin as the best chance, the Bitcoin network as the best chance of replacing the fiat network, which is incredibly unethical in my eyes, the fiat system. So I decide to park my capital in Bitcoin, and in the future, I will use that Bitcoin to further create the world that I want to live in. That's my idea as a capital holder.
Yeah.
Well said.
All right, let's go back to finishing off this video here.
Who's solo.
Every millionaire is an evil person. 10 millionaires an evil person.
I have a friend who then got really solo founder. So he's in the in the tech space, and he on freak accident got really into AI super early, like years ago, right? And him by himself, he's sitting with his computer, he's like in his 20s, and he codes some shit, and he creates a company, and now it's suddenly IPOs, and it's worth $1 billion. He didn't do anything. He didn't go out and say, you know what, I'm going to make this $1 billion, and I'm going to fuck over everybody in the process. He's doing something that he loves, and now suddenly the world says, and the stock market specifically says, your thing is now worth $1 billion. Now it is suddenly my friend now is an unethical person, and he has to hang himself. Like, what does he have to give away his money? Like, he's evil. Like, where's that point?
It's easier to make money if you're a white.
It's like those $40 shirts. Sorry, that was the entire clip I wanted to talk about. It's like those $40 shirts, right? The market is deciding that those shirts from Taylor Swift are worth $40.
And the market is all of us. I don't think those shirts are worth $40, so they're not to me, but they're worth it to some Swiftie, right? So
yeah.
And they'd find that out pretty quick, right? If she did a concert and she said, this concert, we're going to sell these shirts for $350 each, and nobody bought them, what would they do?
They'd lower the price.
They'd be forced to. There wouldn't be a choice. Like, they'd have to. There wouldn't be a choice. They'd have to lower the price. There is nothing else unless they go and burn them to give the ones that actually sold some more value. But other than that, I mean, what else can they do?
And the flip side of that too is, like, if they put them for $20 one show and they sold out in 5 minutes, then what are they going to do the next show?
Yeah, and they could have gotten more value for them. They could have gotten more value for them, right? Like, they could have gotten more than $20 per shirt. And that's how free markets are decided. Free markets are decided based on the marginal price. If, let's say, for example, you have a room full of people who aren't willing to pay $20, then those shirts aren't going to sell. But if you have people who are willing, like, let's say you have people who are willing to pay $30 and you have some people who are willing to pay $40, at some point, all of your supply will have demand at a certain price. Your goal as a capitalist, as somebody who creates value, is to find out what that price is, to figure out what that price is. So, for example, I mentioned this before, when I was just starting out with social media, I would do hourly sessions for $60 an hour, and I would get no meetings. There would be none. My calendar would be completely empty. I couldn't give these meetings away. Right? Today, like, people didn't know me. Why would they want to talk to some random guy that they don't even know, right? Why like, if I were to go to the Scotiabank Arena today and say that I'm going to do a concert, nobody's going to buy my tickets. Even if I were to list, you would, of course, but even if I were to list them for $1 each, why would somebody pay?
Yeah.
Because I can't sing. Like, if you hear me singing, you're probably never going to want to hear me singing again, right? But that's the
even
point.
If you could sing, though, Rajat, is like, if you didn't have a platform to share with people, nobody would know if you can or you can't. And if
Yes.
you had a channel and a CD and a Spotify, set up on there, and all of a sudden turns out you can sing, and you get that message out there, and people know that you can sing now, then people will probably show up, right? And that's
Yes,
what's happened
exactly.
with your YouTube channel. You started making videos, you put in the work, you proved you know what you're talking about, and people showed up now.
Yeah, and now they're willing to book meetings with me. Whereas the market decided that before, when I didn't have this experience, when I didn't have this this knowledge, nobody wanted to pay me. This is how it works.
Mhm. And it's also like, I mean, this is a little more individual, but if we go back to, just businesses in general, maybe a little more generic, like commodities and things like that, the free market is incredibly efficient at pricing these things, because
Yes.
if there's margin, if there's a profit margin that's really large, it will incentivize other producers to create that same product or a competitive product in that realm, and people will move to that product because it's cheaper or it's better, and that will drive that profit margin down, and everything becomes cheaper over time because of that. Now, the only reason things aren't becoming cheaper, again, is because, and nominally they're going up because there's more supply of dollars. So again, the problem always comes back to fiat monetary debasement.
I was also thinking about something, just a quick point here. Like this mic that I'm using here today, it's a pretty good mic. But the only reason why I was able to buy it I bought it for $300. The only reason why I was able to buy it for $300 is because of competition. Like if there was nobody making a better mic, then Shure would have no reason to make a mic that's this compact. It has the value that it has, and they wouldn't have sold it for so cheap. Like if there was no competition, let's say Sony didn't come out with their own mics, or whatever companies there are that are creating mics, if they didn't have their mics, then this mic would have probably cost me like 30 grand, because it's the only one on the market that can do what it does.
Even just going back in time, the technology going into that microphone was harder to create, more expensive to create, and the purchasing power it took to buy a microphone of that quality was way more. 5, 10, 20 years ago, that same microphone was probably like $1,000 worth of value at one point, right? And that's just because Shure has gotten more efficient at creating microphones, economics of scale. All the components have benefited from the manufacturing complex and technology that's improved. So it's always going to go down in purchasing power.
And the internet has also done that as well. Like using that example, let's say this microphone 20 years ago, before the internet, before we had this economy in cyberspace here, let's say you had a musical shop, which I remember in the city that I grew up in, we had a musical shop there, and they would sell guitars, they would sell microphones, they would sell all this stuff. And it's like they could charge higher prices because they had less competition. They weren't competing against Amazon or Best Buy. If somebody wanted to get a microphone, if they didn't want to pay what it was worth at the store, they could drive 3 hours, but they're still going to have to take 3 hours in gas money and time and whatever else. So the internet itself has driven prices down. Technology has driven prices down. Everything is going to continue to be driven down in Bitcoin terms, in real terms. And that's why Bitcoin to us is such a value add, because irregardless of how many people want to hold Bitcoin, we cannot create more of it. So not only are we going to reprice everything in Bitcoin, but it's the only thing that cannot be replicated and reproduced to meet demand. And that's a huge deal. Everything else can. And that's why the prices of everything else will continue to fall while Bitcoin reprices everything.
I just thought of something. People say that Jeff Bezos is so evil, but he's probably one of the reasons why the prices of a lot of things actually decrease, because now there are more people who are able to buy those things.
Yep.
Right. Like that's one thing that people don't like, because you can't quantify that. How do you quantify something like that? How do you measure that? How much did he decrease the value of, or how much did he decrease the price of just one day delivery by creating this massive company? How much would it have cost without him? Like, would it have even been possible at the scale that it's available to at today? We would have maybe still been stuck going to Walmart.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Rajat, and you touched on something there. How do you quantify the improvements to the world and the cost of everything going down, but from a technology like Amazon, right? The access people have now to buy something, the ability for them to lower margins to a degree. and lower costs. It's very hard to quantify a lot of things in the world. And I think that's part of why people get stuck on something like, even with Bitcoin, like the energy use. It's very easy to quantify the energy use of the Bitcoin network because the hash rate is something we're very proud of and it's very public. And then you can just relay that on the average hash rate of a machine and the average energy use of that machine. And you can say this is the environmental impact of the hash rate, but it's very difficult to quantify the environmental and the destructive nature of fiat, right? If everybody is acting much more short-term consumerist because they know their value is going away subconsciously, even in their dollars, so they spend it quickly, they spend it on crap, they spend it on disposable things. What's the environmental impact of that? What's the quantifiable impact of that? Very, very difficult to quantify the destruction nature of fiat. And I think it's very difficult for people that, like in this video, right? It's very hard for them to even realize that this is the bigger problem because you can't quite place your finger on exactly what it's doing. It's just doing all of this stuff. It's very hard to quantify.
And you talked about the hash rate there. What is hash rate? It's energy. And if you look at all the energy it costs to facilitate the fiat system, whether that's banking infrastructure or gas for the Brinks trucks or materials to build the Brinks trucks or employees at the tellers, that's all energy. Mm-hmm. And we kind of are in a world where we're being told that energy is a bad thing. And some of it is more productive energy. Some of it's wasted energy. What Bitcoin aims to do is capture that wasted energy and help us level up as a planet where we're stuck on level 0 here on the Kardashev scale. Energy is what drives innovation. It's what moves societies forward. And we should be actually applauding energy if it's done in the right way, and which we believe Bitcoin is the Bitcoin network.
Can you share oh yeah, there you go. So this actually shows you exactly what you guys are talking about there. The amount of energy use based per social progress. So the countries that use less energy, they lead to less progress. So like the US, for example, it's up here while Yemen is down here. Ethiopia, a lot of the developing countries I guess are down here. There are other countries.
Sorry, is energy use the x-axis or the y-axis, or which one's?
So energy use is liter per. Oh yeah, energy use is on the x-axis, and then the social progress is on the y-axis.
Gotcha.
Like if you think about it, if let's say we don't have dryers use energy, or washing machines use energy and they use water. If we continued to wash our clothes by hand, what would the world look like?
It would be much less productive because it would take a lot more time for an individual to do that. And we've outsourced that energy use to electricity, which can be created much more efficiently than human energy can.
And that's exactly what Bitcoin is doing, right? Like instead of having people manage our financial system, instead of having a small group of people who have yachts and who are millionaires, multimillionaires, like the FOMC, instead of having that small group of people manage the financial system, and then on top of that, having banks, having all these bank employees, people who are fixed income analysts, fixed income specialists, stock specialists, real estate specialists, instead of having a real estate industry, we just have Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, like what is the energy use of that $3.2 billion upgrade to the Federal Reserve building, right? What's the energy cost of that? And then all of the people that are going to continue to upkeep it and work within there, like that. That's a huge energy use, right?
Yeah.
And it's very inefficient to have humans expend their energy to build and maintain a financial system. That's a really great point. And now we're doing it through software. It's software. Again, we can go back to what Amazon is. Amazon's just software, and then the logistics is built out as an efficient way as possible after that. And Bitcoin is just software, right? And it's the decentralization of the nodes and the mining. People can look at that and think, oh, that's inefficient. It's the most efficient way to maintain a ledger that is immutable. It's absolutely the most efficient way to do that.
Really well said.
Without question.
Yeah.
Well, boys, we're approaching an hour here.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's no better example of 3 guys taking an hour of their time with no guarantee of anything for this video. There might be 5 people that watch this video, but that's the risk that you take on when you're your own boss, when you're an
I
entrepreneur.
demand a minimum wage for my work, Jor.
So it's true though. So it's like, we don't know how well this video is going to do. That's the risk that we take. And that's part of, not being an employee for anybody. So what you can do is you can use that QR code right beside Forrest's head. If you believe in the message that we're trying to spread here, the movement that we're going towards, you can support the channel that way through the QR code. If you don't have the financial means to do that, you can also share with your friends, with your family, like the video. That'll help reach more eyes and get us a few more cents from the YouTubes. And if you're watching this on a phone and don't have access to your QR code there, you can also send to maplebitcoin@coinos.io. So great discussion here, boys. I didn't know if this was going to be 10 minutes or an hour, but we pushed the limits as usual there. Great conversation.
And if you enjoyed this, you'll probably like a lot of the content that we also have exclusively on our school community, which has a 7-day free trial. So there's a link in the description for that. It's a community of other Bitcoiners. We provide a lot of educational content in there, and there's a lot of value to be gained actually from joining that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put it up on I'll put it up on the screen here, and I'll also put it in the show notes, the pinned comment. So we got 150 people so far in there from across the globe. Our goal is to have at least one Bitcoiner from every country in the community, and we're well on the way. So big shout out to everybody who has joined. Thank you for everybody who's been supporting the channel. That means the world to us. Rajat, any final words?
Buy Bitcoin.
There it is. Okay, thanks, fellas. We'll talk to you on the next one. Sorry, Forrest, I jumped the gun early there on you.
Just do it again.
Okay.